Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a yin yoga class for tired, achy feet and legs. We're going to focus on those main areas of the body today. So go ahead and grab your yoga mat. You're also going to need a blanket and a block for your practice today. So head on over and we'll get started. Welcome to your practice. So today, again, we're going to use a blanket, and you want to take the blanket out wide enough that it will cover your mat. So about on the middle point. And we're going to start by coming into tadpole. Let me grab my block as well. Make sure we have that for later. So in yin, we're going to try to stay in poses. Some of them we're going to do about a minute. Some of them will be here a couple minutes. And we're just trying to put mild to moderate amounts of stress in specific areas. So yin is going to target your fascia, your connective tissue, your joints, your ligaments. And again, we put these mild to moderate amounts of stress on there. So kind of think of it as you're applying stress to areas instead of trying to stretch. So for this one, you're going to be targeting your inner thighs. So slide the knees apart until you feel a little bit of resistance there. And then you can lower down to your forearms if you want. You can keep the hips lifted, or you can press them back toward the heels. So you can set up however you need to in this one. Yeah, maybe the big toes are together, maybe the feet are separating out to the side just a little bit. Again, how you have your setup doesn't have to be like I have mine. So once you get here, again, kind of evaluate, see the level of stress that you're feeling. So a way to think of it is if you picture this on a scale of 0 to 10, 0, you wouldn't be feeling anything. 10, you would be in pain. So let's shoot for somewhere around a 2 to 4, and that would be in that mild to moderate area that we're after. And we're about halfway through the amount of time that we're going to spend in this first pose. And again, we're gonna try to hit several different poses today within about this half hour that we've got for our practice. So we'll be again trying to get all around the legs, and we're going to get a little bit into the feet here as well. Let the head relax if you want. And then just try to take normal, regular breath. So we don't have to do Ujjayi breath here in yin. We're not trying to warm the body up. Yin's actually better if you start cold. It would be a little bit more effective there instead of if the muscles are already warmed up. The more of that stress will be able to get applied to the specific areas, tissues that we're after. So that's our time. Go ahead and start to work your way back up. And then we're going to take a counter pose after that. So we'll just do a regular child's pose. You do want to have this one with the knees closer together. So again, you're no longer trying to target that area that we were just working. Relax here for just a little bit. I think you can start to make your way up to your hands. This time we're going to work on toe stretch. So you can feel free to keep your blanket here. If you need to add a little bit more cushion, if you need to double your blanket up, that's fine. You want to curl your toes under. And then again, slowly start to work your way back. Again, we're targeting the soles of the feet on this one. So go back until you feel, again, that stress getting into it. And so you can stay here. Again, if this is mild to moderate, stay there. If you can come all the way up, and that still isn't too much, then you can try to just relax here. Relax the shoulders. Let your hands rest. And this is one of those poses that if you're not used to doing it, it can be pretty intense. So you might have to stay down low the whole time or at least part of it. So again, the important thing to think of in yin is it's the level of stress you're getting in target areas. And again, doesn't really matter a whole lot what the pose looks like. If you get into it, if it ends up being a little bit too much, if you can't get under that moderate level, remember you don't have to stay in a pose for any length of time that is too much. And that's our time, so we can go ahead and release that one. End up in a tabletop, then we're just going to take this right leg back. We'll point and flex the foot. We'll take a few rolls there at the ankle, going in both directions. Wiggle the toes. And then do the same thing there on the other side. So let's bring a little bit of movement back into the body. And then you can set that down. And then you want to position yourself a little bit further forward. I'm actually going to turn my blanket around so I'm all the way on it. My shins will be covering it. This time we're going to be targeting the soles of the feet. And we were doing that. We were getting into the toes a little bit there in that last pose. You're going to start with your left foot on the floor. You want to take this part of your right foot, let it rest to the sole of that left foot. And then again, same thing, easing yourself into it. Keep the hands down low for less stress, or work your hands up here to where you're not bracing yourself. And maybe just resting all the way back on that right sit bone. This time we can get into the shoulders a little bit here as well. So if you start with cactus arms, we'll bring that right arm on the bottom. And again, obviously, if you've got your hands on the floor, you're leaving this part of it out. And you're a little bit more than halfway through on this one. I like to do this one if I've been walking around a lot all day, maybe your feet are sore. For me, this one helps quite a bit. And that's our time. Let's go ahead and release, take it back to a tabletop. And then we're going to move right into the other side. So we got the right foot on the bottom, the left foot's going on top. And again, you're working your way back to the degree that you find is comfortable and that you can tolerate here for a little bit. Yeah, let's take our cactus arms. We'll bring the left arm on the bottom. And again, this part's optional. You don't have to do it. And if you want, you can just kind of really relax into this one and just let your arms rest here into your chest, and then your arms can start to drift away from you. If you want to hold it up, you can, but this would be more of a yin version where you're not putting a whole lot of effort into it. And a little more than halfway through, just so you know a general idea of how much time's left. And release. That's our time in that one. So we're going to take the same counter pose that we did after toe stretch. So we'll take the right leg back, and you can point and flex your toes a little bit, take some circles there at the ankle. You can also curl your toes under, and you can press the heel toward the back of your mat. So just an alternative instead of going to down dog and pedaling the feet. And you can go ahead and change sides when you're ready. And no set amount of time here on counter poses, just until you feel like things are getting unstuck again. And then you can release that. We're going to keep the blanket, but you're going to want to double it up again. So we've got a little bit more cushion. We're going to go through dragon. So we'll start with the left foot forward. The right knee, we're going to be targeting the right quad on this one. So it needs to go to some degree behind the hip. How far you take it back there is up to you. And you want to bend the back leg, reaching back with the right hand. See if you can find hold of your foot. So if that block is close by, you might want to rest the left hand on the block. If the floor is a little bit too far away, you can do that. You can rest your chest here on the thigh like I've got, or you might get more out of it coming up a little bit higher and then placing your forearm here on the thigh. And up to you, you just want to have this right arm straight. So it's just holding on, and you control the stretch by how far the knee is behind the hip, and then how far you start to let the hips drive forward. So if the hips go forward like this, most likely that's going to end up adding a bit more stress to that area that we want. You can release that leg. We're going to go ahead and add in inside dragon. So we'll just take that left foot a little bit wider, create space for both hands to be on the inside of the foot. So again, targeting front of right leg again, maybe a little bit more hip flexor than quad on this one. And then see if you can get to the inner left thigh. So for me, I have to take the foot out a bit wider and then roll to the outer edge of that foot, rolling to the pinky side. So that's an option that you can take. Again, if you do that, you want to have the toes pointing off to the side and making sure that there's no amount of stress that you're feeling in that left knee. And it should just be to the inner left thigh. And so time, start to come back up. We'll take that left knee back. And instead of going to down dog in this practice, let's just go ahead and take that right leg back. And we'll do that same counter pose, just rock back and forth on the ball of that foot. Make sure you do both sides. And when you're ready, we'll set it for the other leg. So left knee is staying on the blanket, the right foot's coming forward. And let's bend the back leg, and you'll find hold with the left hand. And in some cases, it could be too much to grab hold of the hand. If that applies to you, let the leg go, take both hands to the floor, and then again, let the hips drive further forward to the front of your mat. And that can get into the quad, and that might be all that you need in that spot today. And we're not here for very long, but this can be one of the more intense poses that we do in yin, so it usually doesn't take very much to get into it. And we'll go ahead and let that leg go. Just want to take the right foot a little bit wider. You can roll to the outer edge if you need to get into that spot. And again, lower down to the degree that it takes to get into it. So you might find that your range of motion is different from one side to the next, and that's completely normal. And skeletons aren't identical from side to side. So how you set up in poses can be different, and the length of time that it takes to get into that mild to moderate range, again, that can be a little bit different as well. And halfway through on this side. And let's go ahead and start to make our way back out of it. Take it back to a tabletop. And again, we'll just go through those same counter poses again. If you want to go to downward dog instead, and you can head back there. Otherwise, this is a nice little alternative to get through with a down dog free practice. Sometimes you just don't want to do that in yin. So let that go when you're ready. You might want to still use your blanket here. So we're going to transition into forward folds, targeting the back of the leg. So if you know that your pelvis doesn't tilt forward, and you want to make it a little bit easier too, if you sit on the rolled edge of a blanket, that will get that tilt to happen. So we got both legs out straight. We're going to work through caterpillar next. So let me find our time that we're going to take on this one. So legs out straight, you can have your feet together, or you can separate your feet hip width apart or so. Bolster, you can place that between the legs to rest on. You've got your block. If it's tall enough, when you fold, maybe your forehead rests on it. Legs can be straight, knees can be bent. And maybe you take that block, have your elbows on it, and then you can rest your forehead in your hands. So potential target areas that you're after in caterpillar, back of legs, and your back, depending on how much flexion that you want to bring into it. It might be better for you to stay more upright, keeping your back more in extension, and then folding like that. So if it bothers your back when you get into that, this is an alternative that you can do. And staying a bit more upright. Let's try to let the muscles relax in the legs. And again, easing yourself into it. So we'll be here for a little bit. Once you start to notice that your body is opening up, then maybe you start to walk the hands a little bit further forward, settle into it. When it gets too mild, then can you just keep repeating that again? You walk the hands forward, settle. And you evaluate the stress levels you're feeling throughout the whole pose. Time, slowly start to work your way back up. Just take your hands back behind you. So counter pose for this one, you keep your legs out straight, just kind of rock the ankles from side to side. You can point and flex the feet like we did from tabletop. You can bounce the knees up and down. And then we're going to move to Dragonfly. So again, you can stay on this rolled edge of the blanket if you want. And if you don't need it, again, you can get rid of it. So legs out wide, start to crawl the hands forward. So this one might be getting back of legs again, or it could be getting to the inside. So one or both of these areas is what you're targeting. And again, your back as well, just like from caterpillar. So again, you can keep the legs straight, you can bend the knees. If it's a little bit too much, just find a point that you can work in and settle there. And we're about halfway through on this pose. Our time, slowly start to work your way back up. Do those same counter poses again, taking the hands behind you, leaning back a little bit. Bring the legs back together. Just rock them side to side and bring a little bit of movement back to the body. So for the next one, if you don't have a block, you can go to the wall. That can be an alternative for what we're going to work through. Otherwise, go ahead and come on down to your back. Have your block. We're going to set it for a supported bridge. So you'll lift the hips. You take that block. You only need to go to the lowest level. It doesn't have to be very high. If you don't have a block, a bolster would be just as well here. Cushion might feel a little bit better than a block, really. And then we'll lift the legs up in there. So this should get you wedged in such a position that it doesn't really feel like it's taking any effort at all to stay here. So we're just going to rest with the legs up in the air. And we do inversions in most yoga classes. And we're getting that blood to rush down away from the feet. If you want, you might just close your eyes. And if you're at the wall, you're just resting with your legs up, and you don't have to sit on a prop. And to get out of this, just go ahead and bend the knees. Let the knees rest here in your chest. You can take your feet back to the floor. Go ahead and lift the hips, take that block away. And then extend both legs out straight. Let the ankles roll to the side. And then we'll come right into relaxation. Close your eyes, palms face up either side of you. And we'll relax here for these last few minutes. And slowly start to make your way back up to a comfortable seated position. Taking your hands to your heart, close your eyes. Thanks for practicing. Have a great rest of your day. Namaste. If you want to get early access to this video or join me at in-studio class in Louisville or Pleasureville in Kentucky, just follow that QR code on the next screen. We'll see you next time. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that class. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to get a new short form class every week. And if you like what you see and you want to support me, go become a member at theyogamat.com. You'll get unlimited live virtual classes every week and access to our on-demand library with over 500 classes in it. Have a great day. Namaste.